Joseph threw himself on his father and wept over him and kissed him. Then Joseph told the physicians who served him to embalm his father's body. So Jacob was embalmed. The embalming process took the usual 40 days, and the Egyptians mourned his death for 70 days. When the period of mourning was over, Joseph approached Pharaoh's advisors and said, "Please do me this favor and speak to Pharaoh on my behalf. Tell him that my father made me swear an oath. He said to me, 'Listen, I am about to die. Take my body back to the land of Canaan and bury me in the tomb I prepared for myself. So please allow me to go and bury my father. After his burial, I will return without delay." Pharaoh agreed to Joseph's request. "Go and bury your father, as he made you promise," he said. So Joseph went up to bury his father. He was accompanied by all of Pharaoh's officials, all the senior members of Pharaoh's household, and all the senior officers of Egypt. Joseph also took his entire household and his brothers and their households, but they left their little children and flocks and herds in the land of Goshen. A great number of chariots and charioteers accompanied Joseph. When they arrived at the threshing floor of Atad, near the Jordan River, they held a very great and solemn memorial service, with a 7-day period of mourning for Joseph's father. The local residents, the Canaanites, watched them mourning at the threshing floor of Atad. Then they renamed that place, which is near the Jordan, Abel Mizraim, for they said, "This is a place of deep mourning for these Egyptians." So Jacob's sons did as he had commanded them. They carried his body to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre. This is the cave that Abraham had bought as a permanent burial site from Ephron the Hittite. After burying Jacob, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had accompanied him to his father's burial. But now that their father was dead, Joseph's brothers became fearful. "Now Joseph will show his anger and pay us back for all the wrong we did to him," they said. So they sent this message to Joseph. "Before your father died, he instructed us to say to you, 'Please forgive your brothers for the great wrong they did to you, for their sin in treating you so cruelly. So we, the servants of the God of your father, beg you to forgive our sin.'" When Joseph received the message, he broke down and wept. Then his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph. "Look, we are your slaves," they said. But Joseph replied, "Don't be afraid of me. Am I God that I can punish you? You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. No, don't be afraid. I will continue to take care of you and your children." So he reassured them by speaking kindly to them. So Joseph and his brothers and their families continued to live in Egypt. Joseph lived to the age of 110. He lived to see 3 generations of descendants of his son Ephraim, and he lived to see the birth of the children of Manasseh's son Machir, whom he claimed as his own. "Soon I will die," Joseph told his brothers, "but God will surely come to help you and lead you out of this land of Egypt. He will bring you back to the land he solemnly promised to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob." Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath, and he said, "When God comes to help you and lead you back, you must take my bones with you." So Joseph died at the age of 110. The Egyptians embalmed him, and his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt.
All right, ready for another deep dive? Today, we're looking at the second half of the Joseph story.
You know, the one from Genesis.
Exactly. We're talking family drama, ancient Egypt, and even a rather unusual final request.
It's fascinating how these little details from thousands of years ago can reveal so much about an entire society. Like, if we just look at mourning rituals.
Okay, so set the scene for us. Jacob, Joseph's father, passes away in Egypt. What happens next?
Well, Genesis 50 lays it all out. It's actually a pretty intense process, embalming for 40 days.
40 days.
Yeah, 40 days. Then a 70-day mourning period observed by, get this, the Egyptians. Over 3 months dedicated to honoring Jacob.
Wow, 3 months is a long time. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, it shows just how important Jacob, and by extension Joseph, was to the Egyptians, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just the length of the mourning period. It's who it was reserved for. In ancient Egypt, 70 days, that was specifically for the highest levels of society. It suggests Jacob was deeply respected, likely because of Joseph. This wasn't just a personal loss, this was a societal one.
It's amazing how these cultural nuances can reveal so much. And speaking of societal influence, there's this whole thing with Joseph needing Pharaoh's permission to bury his father according to his wishes. What's the significance there?
It's subtle, but it speaks volumes about Joseph's position.
Hmm.
I mean, think about it. He's essentially second in command, but he's still got to navigate the complexities of a foreign court. Even with his power, he's aware of his place, respectful of his father's wishes, and his own heritage.
Yeah, he's walking a tightrope, honoring his family and his responsibilities to Egypt. And then there's the funeral procession itself. They didn't exactly go low-key, did they?
Oh, not at all. Genesis describes chariots, dignitaries. I mean, this was a major event. It really emphasizes Jacob's importance, not just as Joseph's father, but as a patriarch who commanded respect, even from the Egyptians.
It really drives home that connection between Egypt and Jacob's family, almost like Jacob's influence, thanks to Joseph, bridged that cultural divide.
Right. And there's this other little detail that caught my eye.
Yeah.
Where they stopped to mourn. It was called Abel Mizraim. Literally translates to the mourning of the Egyptians.
Mourning of the Egyptians.
Yeah, this wasn't just for show. I mean, the Canaanites, they witnessed this, and they were clearly impacted by the genuine grief from the Egyptians.
It really makes you think about how grief can bring people together, even from different cultures. This shared experience makes you wonder how Jacob's death must have hit his other sons.
The ones who sold Joseph into slavery.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because their fear, it's palpable in Genesis 50. With Jacob gone, they're terrified. They know what they did.
It's that raw feeling of guilt, their past actions are coming back to haunt them.
And they've benefited from Joseph's position, but now their protector is gone. It sets up such a powerful moment. Joseph could have easily become this vengeful figure.
Oh, absolutely. He had every right.
He did. But instead, he chooses a different path.
Yeah.
He says something so simple, yet so profound.
Oh, my God.
Right.
It's incredible.
Talk about a loaded question. What a powerful statement.
In just 3 words, he shows how much he's grown. Vengeance isn't his to give. It really makes you question your own capacity for forgiveness, They expect punishment, and instead they get grace.
It speaks volumes about Joseph's character, but also, don't forget, this story is laying the groundwork for a nation.
Right. It's bigger than just Joseph. He sees his family prospering for generations. It's just like he told his brothers before, you meant to harm me, but God intended it for good.
Exactly. And speaking of intentions, as Joseph's life is coming to a close, we get this really interesting final request.
To be buried in Canaan.
Yes. He asks his brothers to promise that when they leave Egypt, they'll take his bones with them. Just like Jacob, he yearned for that homeland.
It's almost like despite all his success in Egypt, a part of him always longed for his roots. Adds another layer to this idea of legacy, wouldn't you say? It's such a strong connection running through generations. But it's more than just about a place, isn't it?
It goes much deeper than that. Think about it. His request wasn't just about where he was buried. This was about legacy, about faith, about a promise that goes all the way back to Abraham. Remember, God's covenant with Abraham. His descendants would inherit the land of Canaan. Joseph, even in death, wants to be part of that.
Wow. It's like he's saying, this isn't the end. Our story doesn't end in Egypt. It ends in the promised land.
Exactly. Powerful message, right? And not just for his brothers, for generations of Israelites to come. Those bones, they become this symbol, a symbol of hope, this tangible link to the covenant, a reminder that God keeps his promises. They're a physical representation of the promise that would eventually lead them out of Egypt.
It's amazing, isn't it? These small details, they add so much depth to the story. We've gone from these ancient mourning rituals to questions of power, forgiveness, and this incredible legacy passed down through generations.
It really makes you think.
It does. It makes you think about family, about forgiveness, about the power of a promise, what sticks with you most from Joseph's story. Something to think about as we wrap up this deep dive. Until next time.